All right, good evening, guys. Ken at Tortoise Capital Nightly Strategy Podcast for November 11th, 2021. A solemn Veterans Day to you. Start with the market health check. So we've completed in this last 30 days a supported spring crossing and an owl entry that rolled up to the peak where the RL10 has now rolled over, put a lid on it, and has pulled back like 3 days, and then terminated in an inside day with a really tight doji right in the middle of the dragon. So this is the perfect definition of a critical state on the swing trade time frame, right? So here we are at that 10-day high and the rollover. Here's where the RL10 crossed the RL30, so that makes that a P1. Here's where it crossed the baby dragon. So this would be bar one. This would be a bar two. I would treat this as a bar three. Let me draw the red line for you. I would probably take this as the bar three because this was an inside day. Technically, you could count that as a bar three because it took out bar two's low, and I would not be offended. And you'd be happy if you took that exit. Because the key thing you're looking for is it made a peak. It closed in bar two with a lower high that makes that a bar two. And then bar three takes out bar two's low without making a new high first. So that gives you the 1, 2, 3 exit right there. And that would be an exit at like 468. Oh, excuse me. Now, what makes this one interesting is you've got the low from yesterday was right at the bottom of the dragon and the edge of the river. And today had a slight gap up and closed with a higher low. So that makes this bar one. Whoops, that makes this bar one and bar two. So if we're looking at a bar three entry, we would be taking that as soon as it breaks out above today's high. That would be a bar three entry at 465 and a third, provided that it didn't make a low below bar two's low. So that yellow zone, as long as it stays in the yellow zone, doesn't go below, and then breaks out above that green line, then we would have a 1, 2, 3 entry here tomorrow. And then our target would be, back to the top of the stack. Okay. Other notes of interest. So the 10 bar low is going to be, we'll have moved up to here tomorrow to 458. The dragon slope is strong. The PSAR extension is still holding as support. The RL30 is still sloping up. Only the Hull 3 period is sloping down, giving us a bit of a warning there. But the slope of the river is up. So this is still buy on dip conditions until otherwise noted. And this is where we would pick up that second move to the upside. I would be ready for intraday trading to the downside as soon as it violates that red line, and then I would pick up a short bias if it breaks below this 10-day low right here. And then I'd want to pick up a third position short if it breaks below the Bollinger Band mean. Okay. All right, let's look at the sectors. All right, so we have the S&P was basically flat for the day. Treasuries were down a fraction. The Qs were up a fraction at 0.28. The Russell was up 0.8. The Dow was down 0.45. Emerging markets were the big winner today at 1.73. All right, let's take a look at the downside sectors today because there were fewer of them. So we have ARC, genomics was flat, staples minus 0.07, had Mexico oil discretionary down 0.27, Bitcoin futures 1.6, VXX was down 2%. So that to me has a favorable upside implication for tomorrow. We've got, here's the Bitcoin Trust. All right, let's go take a look at the upside. So we have, let's see. We have S&P Biotech and Finance, both up a fraction. We have Energy and Tech up 0.4 and 0.47. Agriculture, ARC Innovation, Blended Commodities and Materials up between 0.5 and 0.8. Pretty strong. Simon Property Group, the commercial real estate, up 0.9. The FANGs and lumber and wood and wheat and precious and oil exploration and moonshots all up between 1% and 1.5%. So both lumbers were up strong today. There is our cluster of cryptos, Make that. Brazil, lithium, there's Ethereum, there we are, up 5%, yay. That's really pushing the upside there. There's Brazil and lithium up 3.5%. Clean energy and marijuana up 5%. And then the big winners for today: Alcoa, U.S. Steel, Cliff Natural Resources up 3.7%. TX, the steel company, 2%. There's John Deere and Devon Energy up 1%. Microsoft up 0.5%. So quite a lot to choose from today. All right, so this was from yesterday. I didn't have a chance to work yesterday. Had a power failure. So this was just Tesla from Tuesday night's framing. We talked about the critical state, and then the next morning it gapped up, had the standard 5-minute opening range. That's our risk box here. It immediately started moving. So we just locked in no lose plus dinner for 2 with about about 3 minutes of open risk, and then just kept locking these in. As this thing would run up to here, I would just lock in a piece. As this thing was running up to here, lock in a piece. As it ran up to here, lock in a piece, and then this rolled over and failed here somewhat later. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Just kind of in the usual way. Sometimes it's just like that. Right, here's Luke. So, yeah, here's the gap down and the roll up. A little slow getting in for a scratch. Here's a little slow also getting in, but a reasonable recovery. As this thing wasn't failing further, so you wanted to lock in that one. Good scratch, reasonable scratch, brilliant short. First position, second position, nice cover for 3R, and even better re-entry. I don't mind the scratch because you got the re-entry, the immediate re-entry with a second position and a good cover. I might have taken this one as a 1, 2, 3, but it's the same exit. So there's another 3. Here's another. This was a reasonable short, and then the 1, 2, 3 exits are getting you out fast and lock in 5 for the day. It's pretty good shooting, Hoss. This is Bill Scheit on a swing trade using his PSAR flip. There's the sell-off. Here's the SSC. This was certainly possible with an entry here. And maybe this would have gotten you out if you were using the Wu Wei, but then this would have gotten you back in, or this one gets you back in. He waits for the PSAR flip, nothing wrong with that. And then he's following it all the way up and exits here. Now, with this kind of a run up, I might have been happy with an exit here at the Z3, which would have cut out some of all this crap and get you about the same good exit. But still, the PSAR gives it room to run, and he locks in 4.25R. And this one is on the Engine coin. That's part of his PSAR flip strategy. He's uploaded the slides already to our research weekend workshop. So if you're a subscriber to that course, you can already start reviewing that and preparing your questions. But nice work there with Bill. Crypto swing, PSAR flip, very simple rule set. Right, here is Etsy. The question was, is this a super pinch? And if so, do I have time to talk about it? Yes. First of all, it's a pinch because, as you can see, the Z3 lines are coded yellow, and in that's from the R Factories template for trading views. And whenever we are abnormally pinched, it turns those outer Bollinger Bands from red to yellow. And so he's done a nice job here. And now, to be a super pinch, what we have to have is we have to have a Z3 pinch, which is what you get when you've had this kind of long sideways move and the Bollinger Bands have pinched to an abnormally narrow level. So we have that. And now what we need is 4 regression lines, all contained within the pinch. So as you can see, you've got the 10, the 30, the 90, and the 270 are in there. So that makes this whole thing a super pinch. And what you do is you just draw the line across the bottom, and there's your short, and there's your stop. And then this is your cover on the PSAR flip. So you get out probably right about there. So you end up making that much on this much risk, which is about 1, 2, 3, maybe 3.5. And then if you take the collapsing dragon here and here, this probably comes in at about 6R. And then there is your super pinch, and that'll get you paid as well, which it did. He did take this one, and that's 1.6. But that's what the super pinch looks like right there. So you need a Z3 pinch plus 4 regression lines. Okay. Ken H asks, what would you do when you're about to enter and then the bar shoots up 1 standard deviation? Let it go. Or take the position with half of position size and then wait for your normal second position to put the second position on, either one of those. That's one of the advantages of having the limit order in, and then if it blasts through that, you're going to get a fill somewhere in there. Again, I would just say there's more coming. So if you don't get one of them, it's not like we have a shortage of opportunities throughout the day. Missing one won't hurt you. All right. So here we have the opening. We have, there was an opportunity coming out of this Z3 pinch. We're above the VWAP. And so their spring turns to summer. So that one's tradable with a PSAR flip. This would be your collapsing dragon and crossing the RL270 to the short side. This one was tempting to me because of the the SSC. Probably would have gotten a scratch here. But you get the COTA 2 entry, which is nice with a really nice tight stop. And this would have been the Uwe exit and the sniper, but because he's outside the Z3s, he plays it over and he doesn't want to let this come all the way back. So he just takes it there for 4.2. Why not? There's a COTA 2. This one is a Z3 pinch that's a little late, and so that's over minus 0.6. But when it crosses the Bollinger Band mean, there's your short there, and there's a collapsing dragon short. Either one of those gets you in. Here's a 1, 2, 3 exit on that trade. There's the SSC, which gets you that trade. Keep shooting. Be prepared to take 1,000 trades in a row. Follow the rules. All right, here's Luke on CLF. Gap up, sell off, buys the retracement across the VWAP. He lets a lot of it get back, so this is a bit of a scratch. Nice short, good second short position, which quickly scratches for a fraction. Good re-entry to the long side, good second entry, crushes it for 2. This was a reasonable effort to the short side. Good scratch. This was a good stop and reverse, a good controlled exit. Good scratch. Good fractional, gets paid, and then smashes the big one for 4. total, 5.8 R, 13 trades, a 2-to-1 win rate, and a 2-to-1 payoff. That's like 0.8 expectancy. So how good is this? Notice the feeling of the need to be right all the time. He noticed it, acknowledged it, and then just managed the risk of the trade until I got risk out. And by using the fireman, he was able to deal with those little contingencies, those emotional contingencies. Dude, you're not going to get much better than that. 2-to-1 win rate and 2-to-1 payoff. How good is that? That's good enough. That's what that is. That's how good that is. Alcoa was pretty much a grind all day. There wasn't much here. You got the piece that was available. Scratch. Here was probably a mental pause that refreshes. And of course, that's the one that works. A couple more scratches. This was mostly just a grind, not much of a move intraday. That's just what was there. And basically a scratch day, refining your skills and good execution practice. Here is a supported spring crossing. There's your peak. There's your sell-off. There is the supported spring. Actually, I think this may have been that's a collapsing dragon. Here's the supported spring crossing. He's long here. He was using this as a stop. He noticed that if he'd been using the RLXD, he'd have gotten out here, but then this would have gotten you right back in for this piece of the move. Now, I want you to notice that when this one gets up here past resistance and then starts to sell off, let's just take that here and get paid strong. That was such a nice move up here around the Z3s. Notice this was pushing Z3s and then didn't work any further. So just take that right there instead of back in here. Here's a Ken H on COT 2. Let's see. This looks like the one that got away. I think he was framing that one on a daily. And then when he actually took it, he had the real tight intraday risk box, a 0.2 instead of all the way down to here. Notice that he might have taken this COTA 2 and that COTA 2, but he did take this COTA 2 and got paid for 10R. And it's 10 because of how tightly he's able to frame the critical state. He was busy. He missed the SSC. Let's give him a slack on that. Then playing catch up, reasonable. So this with an entry here and that same risk box, you might have had another 5 on that. Nice work, guys. Hard to do better than that. The good news is you don't have to do better than that if you just do that. Yeah, we just added the Spectrum coax internet, and we're getting 800 meg down and 50 meg up. So slightly better performance than its stupid satellite. We got rid of HughesNet. I was getting 2 in 1 and paying $100 a month for that. Ridiculous. They can just burn. I got to watch what I'm saying though. Yesterday I was teaching my doctoral class and we'd had it installed for all of about 15 minutes and I was gloating and the storm rolled in and lightning literally hit next to me 10 feet outside of our sunroom window and blew out all the power. So I had just enough time to sign off. So I'm not gloating much. All right, so we've got bullish normal. We're overbought across the board except for the 10-day and the 2-day, which are in the middle. Risk Z is reminding us we can be risk on, and we're still above the 0 line, so that's still favorable for the upside. The upside potential is still there, but we're mindful that this could collapse. So this is looking like a critical state. You have Latin America and emerging markets triggering the short side on the overreaction. So that means the nice big pop up that they had is starting to weaken. And so if we see more weakness in those, you can pile on them intraday with turbo to the short side. Plenty of dojis today. Plenty of auto framers that test out well. In the ETFs, also a handful of dojis. And again, plenty of auto framers. We are in a perfect critical state, not only in the S&P, but in most of the ETFs as well. Auto framer showing you, plenty of goodies to work with here. These are all the ones that are better than 2 to 1. And, you got Asia less Japan. You got the S&P in there. That's a good sign. That means it's poised and ready for action. And I'm also noticing that to the upside, for an upside breakout, you've got the S&P is in #1 position on the daily squeeze. That is so good for tomorrow's breakout move on a Friday. Can't even stand it. That's how good that's going to be. And it's 3.4 to 1. You've also got treasuries on a breakout ready to go, and the diamonds and Microsofts. Man, that is a target-rich environment. Pfizer was the only good news among the Dow and the specials, and then you had some of the weaker ones are now coming in. Like that looks like a buy on dip opportunity there in some of these weaker symbols. We're going to test and see if that's the pause that refreshes and it zooms to the upside, or is this the breakdown that's going to take it back to this price level here? Let's call that around 455. But that's what topping action kind of looks like. That's a critical state happening right there when the slope of the RL30 crosses back over its 10-period moving average outside of the yellow range. That's a potential significant turning point. You should read the essay that I wrote on Patreon today talking exactly about that. This is a natural pause that refreshes again. And everything rolling over. Caution. All right. That's everything we got. We'll get this published and posted and uploaded. And Van Tharp just took the creativity lesson. It was kind of interesting. He took the first lesson and he said, hey, this is kind of simplistic. And I'm already a creative person. I didn't get that much out of it. I said, well, that's interesting. Just go ahead and take the rest of the lessons and do the exercises at the end. And he did that. And he wrote me back a 3-page note today saying, hey, those exercises at the end really do pay off. I got a lot out of that. And he did all his homework and he was really impressed with it. And that's a pretty good validation of that whole course. As an introduction to Creativity 101, it also introduces you to Angus Fletcher's science on creativity. But you can get that for $100. And that's a prerequisite to take Creativity 202, which is where we go deep into Fletcher's work on creativity for the military, because there's such a strong overlap to the trader's mind. Plus, I'm taking his field guide and rewriting it with exercises for traders. And that's going to be called Creativity 202. So that should be ready to go in about 10 days. I think you would benefit from the creativity course, the Creativity 101 course with Van's strong endorsement. All right, guys, that's everything we got. We'll get this published and posted. Take good care, and we'll see you tomorrow.